Hi, this is Matthew Robert Payne. This is a painting on the wall that I got commissioned from an artist. I run a prophecy site, which is in people who aren't Christian terms, a site where I do spiritual readings like a clairvoyant and a psychic. I can meet any person, tell them 20 or 30 personality characteristics that they're very good at, that they're proud of. I can tell them 10 things, at least over half an hour. Sorry, I was looking down. I can tell them 10 things, at least over a half an hour meeting, that they're destined to do with their life. I've got a very, very, very strong connection with God. I've been to heaven multiple times and met God. I've seen God in visions, like in my mind as a spiritual entity, like a ghost, on earth many times. I've walked and talked with Jesus many times in visions, seen him in my mind like a ghost over 400 times on earth. I've met him many times in heaven. I've met over 30 to 40 of the saints in the Bible on earth. I've met them in heaven. I can go to different places in my mind on the earth and interact with people. I haven't been able to go in my flesh body yet, but I look forward to that. I've written 55 Christian books, and currently in the last week have recorded 2 videos, which is about 3 hours worth of content, with an interview with Michael Hutchins of In Excess, and I asked him a whole lot of questions, and that'll be like an 80-page book in the future that'll come out in the next 6 weeks or so. I am currently doing an interview with John Lennon, who wrote the book Imagine, who was in the Beatles. He made it to heaven, which most of the Christian church would have a problem with. And he's bringing a message from heaven for the Christian church and for people that love him. And it's a tremendous message. I'm 6 questions into that. I've done 2 videos, a 2-hour video and a 4-hour video. And it looks like it'll be about 18 hours, which is amazing because, you know, a good interview on TV, a special, might be an hour where someone questions someone for an hour. A documentary might be 2.5 hours about a person's life, and that can be very comprehensive, and you can learn a lot from that. But I'd imagine by the time you're finished listening to John Lennon for 18 hours, you'd have a good opinion about what heaven is like, what God is like, what he thinks the answers to the world are all about. And he's basically unpacking the song Imagine over 18 hours about how it's meant to be done on earth. A very interesting and very unique Christian. You'd probably compare me to about 1 in 10,000 Christians, or maybe 1 in a million. I've got a very big future. I've got a huge future. And if you ask me about my future and let me ask questions, intelligent questions about my future over an hour, and you're really interested in it, you'd walk away, most people would walk away shaking their head saying, that guy is out of his mind. That guy is totally crazy. I'm diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I still suffer with that. I'm on medication, haven't been to hospital for 10 years, haven't had an episode for 10 years, but I can get high and I can get low, and I struggle with that. I've got pain and issues that I'm dealing with a counsellor over every 2 weeks, a husband and wife counsellor. I'm a work in progress. I'm not looking for a girlfriend. I'm not ready for a girlfriend. Just like someone who's come out of a marriage shouldn't really date or have anyone in a serious relationship for 2 or 3 years until they found themselves. I'm still finding myself. I'm still processing pain in my life. But I've got a lot to offer a friend, and I'm looking for a real friend. So if you're spiritual, if you're open to spiritual things, if you've got big dreams, if you've got good passion, if you like talking about the real things in life, if you're not hungry after money and possessions, you know, John Lennon in Imagine said, imagine a world with no possessions too. In other words, he realized that the answer to the world isn't money and possessions. Jesus identified it. He said, you can't serve two masters. You can either serve God or you can serve money and possessions. He identified money and possessions as the enemy of God. And I'm very deep, very deep. I've only met one person in the flesh, in the world, one Christian who's deeper than me. I was talking to his sister a couple of days ago. I said, your brother is deeper than me. It's amazing. And she said, I don't think so. And I said, I think so. And she said, I don't think so. She said, I think you're both deep, but I think you're deeper. And so when you've got something in yourself, when you possess something really well in yourself, you're very able, it creates chemistry with other people. So because I'm very deep, I can recognize someone who's very deep. I don't talk much about surface details. If you have a conversation with me, if you spend an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours talking to me, you'll find we get very deep very fast. You know, you'll spend 3 hours talking about your whole life, the deepest, most important things, the most hurtful things, the most painful things, the most joyous things, the happiest things, your biggest dreams, your biggest desires, what you'd like to see changes in the world, how you'd suggest to do changes, how you thought about doing changes if you were given the position. We wouldn't be talking about the weather. We wouldn't be talking about TV shows. We wouldn't be talking about actors. We really wouldn't even be talking politics, although I'm very into politics. We wouldn't be talking about little things. We'd be talking about big things. And because of that, a lot of people can't endure me. A lot of people would say I'm intense. I'm sort of, you can't meet me every day because my life moves fast every day. 3 days ago, I did the first draft in 2 sessions of the Michael Hutchins book. In the last 2 days, I've done 2 sessions, 6 hours of an interview with John Lennon, and we've only covered 6 questions, and I've got 19 questions. I got the questions. I didn't make up the questions myself. God's Spirit, called the Holy Spirit, gave me the questions to ask John. John's known about this interview for years and has been preparing for the interview, and yet different to I've done 30 interviews with people out of the Bible, different to my other interviews I've done. I didn't write down the questions until he got here, until he was in my house. He didn't answer the questions, and he didn't know the questions until I asked the question. Even though I wrote it down on the page, he didn't see it, and he didn't know the question until it's answered. So he spent all his time on earth, the last 20 or 30 years in heaven preparing, and yesterday he came down, and he's prepared, and he's answering the questions one by one and taking his time to do it. Now, he wrote a song that was the most popular song voted in the 20th century. Out of all the songs that were written in the 20th century, his was voted #1. People, honestly, people really want that future. People really want a future where money doesn't control, religion doesn't control, fear of hell doesn't control, borders don't control, governments don't control, but the whole world is built on a brotherhood and a love and unconditional love. That's what he wants. That's the world I'm working towards. That's the world I'm positioning myself for. And in the future, I'm going to be a major player. Maybe this book will be popular in a year. Maybe it'll be popular in 5 years. But one day, the world is going to see this book. It'll be 500 to 600 pages. One day, the world will see it, and it'll be a bestseller. And in that day, I'm not sure if I'm ready for it now, but in that day when it does become a bestseller, it's going to send a shockwave through the religious world. The Christian church gets a tremendous rebuke of God through John Lennon. The Christian church are going to be shifted. Every person who's not a religious Christian who reads that book is going to say, amen, that's the truth about Christianity. They're a bunch of hypocrites, most of them. And so it's a very powerful book. It's like 10 times more powerful than my 55 Christian books that I've written. I've got 1,700 videos on YouTube. You don't even have to meet me. just listen to my YouTube. Only in the recent 4 weeks, I've built this professional office to make things look better. Most of my other videos aren't professional, with not good lighting, not really professional looking. But I say a lot of ums and ahs. My videos aren't edited. None of what I've ever say in my videos is scripted or prepared. I've got no notes. Sometimes I've got bullet points, but I don't know what I'm going to say. In this introduction, I didn't know what I was going to say. I'm very, 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 very driven and very, 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 very passionate and very, very, very close to God. I can request Jesus to come down and he'll come down. I can request God to come down and he'll come down. I can request any person in heaven that went to heaven to come down. The only people I can't talk to are people that are in hell, and there's lots of people going to hell. And it's my job in this world to stop a lot of people going there and bring a message so powerful to people that makes them, motivates them to want to go to heaven and fit the conditions of someone who goes to heaven. I don't know many Christians in the world who know as much as me. Often I'm bored hearing Christians preach. I know so much about the Christian faith to realize it's not working, and to realize that it's one of the major reasons why the world is such a mess. Also, I know quite a lot of details about the elite and the Illuminati and the people behind the scenes, behind the government, behind Hollywood, behind the music industry, behind all the major brands in the world, behind the major businesses in the world, behind major money in the world, who basically own most of the wealth of the world. I know quite a lot about them, and I'm going to take a fight to them. And I suppose you could explain the mission statement of my life is to help the song Imagine manifest on earth. If I sound like someone you'd like to have a coffee with, don't be asking me for hundreds of dollars to support me, to support you. You know, me spending $20 on coffee and cake will certainly be worth your time. You really haven't met anyone like me before. You really haven't met anyone like me. If you've got answers, if you've got questions for God, if you've got questions for Jesus, if you've got questions about your life, if you've got questions, I can most probably answer a lot of your questions from my own intellect and from my own wisdom. But I can also shoot some of your questions up to God and get an answer off God. It'll be a very interesting coffee, and if we connect, I'll be a very interesting friend. So I hope you enjoy this, and if I send you a profile picture, a message, I hope that you read my profile and get in touch. God bless.